It's time for business, and Sandra Fenu is here, and she's going to be talking more about the 2020 budget tomorrow.
Yes, to increase taxes or not to increase, industry players have been talking. Businesses are also looking out for tax reduction in the 2020 budget. So we'll be hearing from one of such associations and what they expect the minister to do tomorrow.
Okay, Sandra.
All right. Hello, good evening. My name is Sandra Esinam Apenu. I'm here for business. In our first story tonight, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta could propose some significant increase in revenue and expenditure targets in the 2020 budget. This was based on government's own fiscal projections captured in the media review. Here's a business desk report.
Based on the fiscal estimates outlined in the mid-year budget review, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is likely to propose 67 billion cedis as total grants and revenue expected when he presents the budget. This may be about 9 billion cedis jump from what was proposed in the mid-year budget review. Taxes on income and property would be the highest contributor to this jump in revenue. On the expenditure side, the minister is likely to ask Parliament to approve 81 billion cedis. This represents about 7 billion cedis more from what he is likely to spend in 2019. This should mean that the minister may seek a total approximate of about 87 billion cedis. The major driver of this expenditure would be total compensation for the public sector. Now, these are estimates that the finance minister has proposed. However, there is a likelihood that there might be some slight changes when he presents tomorrow's budget in Parliament. These estimates have often been a guide when it comes to presenting the budget. Meanwhile, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has told Joy Business that the budget would consolidate gains made so far.
Sustainable stability, security, I think really make sure the roads are done, make sure the flagship projects are going on, and begin to think structurally about tax reform, export drive, things that now begin to place us in a position on a real growth strategy that would also bring the needed employment.
But for the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Mark Esibeyeboah, the 2020 budget will be a tight one.
There's not going to be a lot of space for the usual expenditures that we want to see in an election year because you have energy sector recurring debts in these take-or-pay agreements. We haven't seen the full extent of the financial sector cleanup. Some of it would show up again. Even the bonds that were issued when the banks were resolved, now there are going to be coupon payments, at least 2 next year, okay? Then you have the normal off-budget expenditures that I talked about. So 2020 is going to be a tight budget. There wouldn't be a lot of space.
The Finance Minister has also told Joy Business that the 2020 budget will take a firm position dealing with tax exemptions, especially when the country is said to be losing about $4 billion each year. But the biggest challenge would be whether or not government will be disciplined in its finances ahead of the election year. Earlier this year, the Deputy Minister of Finance, Kuku Kwarteng, in an interaction with journalists noted that there would not be new taxes in the 2020 budget.
Still on the budget, the 2019 budget came with lots of policy initiatives and economic targets. Moving into 2020 budget, where do we stand as a nation and what should we look out for in the new budget? Here is another business desk report.
The 2019 budget was based on the theme, a stronger economy for jobs and prosperity. This has left most Ghanaians asking if indeed this economy has made them more prosperous. Starting off with the macroeconomic indicators, government set some ambitious targets and largely seems to have scored high in that area. GDP growth, for instance, was targeted at 7.6%, but revised to 7.1% on the back on the relatively larger GDP base for 2018, as well as lower projected crude oil and gas volumes. Currently, GDP growth stands at 5.7% for the second quarter of 2019. The International Monetary Fund in April 2019 projected a growth of 8.8%, but in October 2019 revised it to 7.5%. Besides the macroeconomic targets, government also spelled out how much they want to raise in revenue and how much they want to spend. Big figures? Well, let's catch this. Government plan to raise a total revenue and grant of 58.9 billion Ghana cedis, revised down a percentage point to 58.8 billion Ghana cedis. On the expenditure side, an initial of 74 billion Ghana cedis was budgeted for, and after the mid-year review, a total of 85.1 billion Ghana cedis will be spent. Expenditure went up by 6 billion Ghana cedis approximately. Enough of the numbers. What are some of the policy initiatives meant to boost our economic fortunes? The financial sector policy initiatives span across improvement to the Ghana Commodity Exchange, development of the mortgage and housing finance market, as well as positioning Ghana as a financial service hub. Some argue the recent cleanup of the sector is putting us back on the map, but what do you think? Will the problem spell doom the country? This is the first budget of this government out of an IMF program, and we ask if indeed government can maintain the fiscal discipline they have touted. The 2020 budget will give us a glimpse into the future.
All right, so let's do some industry expectations ahead of the 2020 budget presentation and the executive president of the Ghana Association of actually the director of the Ghana Employers Association, and he's Alex Frimpong. He joins me via the phone. Thanks so much for your time, sir. And the 2019 budget was on the theme, a stronger economy for job and prosperity. You had a lot of targets and policy initiatives from where you stand or where you're sitting now. Have you so far seen, or what do you think about the budget that was presented in 2019 and moving on to 2020? What are your expectations?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I think from the perspective of the Ghana Employers Association, we are looking at an economy where businesses can forecast, predict, and so that it will bring stability to their businesses. So in our inputs into the budget discussion, we have outlined some four key measures. One has to do with the high cost of capital. We realized over the years that the monetary policy rate that has been determined by the Bank of Ghana as against the average interest rate, the disparity is too wide. And there will be the need for us to work together to bridge the gap. Because if businesses are not able to borrow at affordable prices, I'm not sure they will be in the position to expand and grow as the theme of the budget suggests. We are also looking at the issue of high cost of electricity. But after which the other high cost for many businesses in the country today is electricity. So we are looking at a situation where the budget should announce a price discrimination in favor of non-residential consumers, that's for industry. So that's another one.
All right, quickly before we go, you're running out of time, but before you go, you're actually kicking against increase in taxes, but you want the minimum wage to be increased. Why?
We have not really indicated that we want to kick against taxes. What we have said is that the macroeconomic environment must be conducive for business. If government wants to bring out any tax initiatives, it will be subjected to broader consultations with the stakeholders. So for us, we believe that what the taxes that members are paying will be adequate in the interim. But if there are any new initiatives that will really further deepen the macroeconomic stability and also bring prosperity, I think we will be in the position to discuss with government. I'm
grateful for your time this evening. Alex Frimpong is the Executive Director of the Ghana Employers Association. That's how we end the first part of Business with me, Sandra Esinam Appen. We have more business news after 8 p.m. Do stay tuned.